Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to it, this Monday edition of the show with so much to do over the next 60 minutes, and glad to have you with us to do it. On over 270 affiliates across the United States and Canada, hello to our friends watching north of the border. And wherever you may be watching, courtesy of the YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, growing quickly, lots of content there. Go and check it out if you haven't subscribed already. Much more than just the show there. Extended conversations, a whole bunch more. Matter of fact, we have one today with Jason Cole, which spills into the YouTube channel because we talked for so long, we ran out of time on the TV side. So go and check that out. All right, a lot to do, as I said, over the next hour of this program. We'll be joined by Sam Yarnell a little later on, get his thoughts on the weekend in baseball, where we stand in the wild card races in the American League and National League. The Dodgers snapping a 7-game skid over the weekend against the Diamondbacks as well. There is news from the WNBA, which we'll talk about with him. Also here coming up in the big story, Jerry Bonkowski is here to break down Ty Gibbs' win in Iowa in the Iowa Corn 350. And Jason Cole will join me in 10 minutes. He's a Hall of Fame selector for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Get his thoughts on the guys inducted this weekend and what is to come for the Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, because their task is not going to get any easier. We'll get to all of that as well. But we get things started as we always do on this Monday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the Daily Wrap, our Substack newsletter. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code. It's right there. You got your phone in your hand. Just put it up to the TV or the screen or whatever you're watching us on. Take the phone, put it there, scan the QR code. You can subscribe. It's free. A lot of people's Substack newsletters aren't free. Ours is for now. So go and subscribe to the Substack newsletter. Great content there every day and on the weekends. All right. Let's talk about the foul scene all around the WNBA this weekend and the bigger conversation about what's happening around the WNBA. Let's start with what took place on Saturday in Chicago between the Fever and the Sky. You've got Sophie Cunningham going to the basket. Let's see it again. Sophie Cunningham going to the basket. DiJonai Carrington chasing from behind. Carrington swipes to try and block the shot, misses entirely on trying to block the shot, rings, basically gives a clothesline. It was like a lariat, like a Stan Hansen lariat. You kids go watch wrestling back in like the 70s and 80s. You'll understand who Stan Hansen was. A clothesline of Cunningham. It's ruled a foul, obviously. And here you see it again. And for those of you watching on the YouTube side, you won't see the video. For those on the TV side, you will. We have still images up for those on the YouTube channel. So you've got Cunningham getting clotheslined. Carrington called for a foul. It's upgraded to a flagrant 2, which it should have been. There is not a planet where this doesn't fit the criteria for a flagrant 2 foul. So Carrington gets thrown out of the game. Cooler heads prevail eventually, although there are some people that suggested Sophie Cunningham took a couple of swings at Carrington and should have been thrown out of the game as well. Probably true. But that being said, as she goes back to the locker room, Carrington gets on her phone and decides to go tweet out that this is an example of white privilege. Look, I'm not going to get into some long, drawn-out political conversation or social commentary on white privilege, male privilege, white male privilege, all these different things that we talk about in society today. That right there is a flagrant 2 foul if there has ever been a textbook definition of a flagrant 2 foul. This is not anything to do with privilege. If the officials had not called that a flagrant 2, they all would have lost their jobs first thing on Monday. Okay? This has nothing to do with privilege of any kind, DiJonai Carrington. That said, it does highlight this tension that the league is operating under right now, and that we continue to watch on a night in, night out basis. The questions being posed to players regarding transgender athletes and transgender participation potentially at some point down the line in the WNBA. The comments from Sophie Cunningham with her trying to turn the game and turn the attention back towards basketball, which is falling on deaf ears. And as I said before, it's the perfect case of the arsonist saying she wants to be the one to put out the fire now. You started this. Best thing you can do is just step aside, don't talk about anything. Just play basketball. Or as Laura Ingraham once said, shut up and dribble. See, I can say it because Laura Ingraham said the same thing. Shut up and dribble. If Laura can say it, why can't I? Now, I obviously don't mean it, but you get my point. Now we're at a point where you've got Cathy Engelbert, okay? Let's focus on the commissioner. Because she still has an opportunity to do one thing left in what little time she has left as the commissioner of the WNBA. And we all agree it's a little amount of time because she's going to be replaced at some time sooner rather than later. And that is get everybody in a room. The Players Association, owners, league officials, get in a room and say, we've got to nip this in the bud before the playoffs start. We've got to get together and decide what we want this league to be over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And unfortunately, that does not include transgender female players. And you know how I feel about inclusion. You know how I feel about defending the rights of transgender people. I've done it on this show. I've done it in social media, much to the chagrin of some people. But this is a time where Cathy Engelbert has to step up and get this done before the playoffs. Because this cannot continue to cast a shadow over this league for the next 2 months while they go through their postseason. They've got a potentially fantastic playoffs sitting ahead of them with some of the teams in this league and what they're doing. Dallas, Golden State, Indiana, Minnesota, Las Vegas. It's going to be a fun playoffs. But not if everybody's just talking about this transgender issue. And you got idiots like Enes Kanter. Well, I'm not even calling Enes Kanter freedom because it's the dumbest thing ever. Out there saying that they're going to make themselves eligible for the WNBA draft next year. Which we all know is a joke. It's mocking women. It's mocking the transgender community. All of it. But the time is now for Cathy Engelbert to step up and put this thing to bed. Does she have it in her? I don't think she does. I hope she proves me wrong. That's the big story. Jason Cole joins us next. Welcome back to the show. It's always a treat when I get to talk to this guy. Longtime friend of the program, Jason Cole. Pro Football Hall of Fame selector, longtime NFL writer, author of many books about the NFL. Didn't you say last time I talked to you were working on another? Or are you not?
I was at the time. I finished that book. It has not been published. And I can't really talk about it.
Killing me, man.
But it's not football, so
okay.
It's okay. It's
all
okay. Right. You know, it's something. It's interesting, but it's more off topic.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame weekend. Did somebody forget to tell Adam Vinatieri this wasn't a Comedy Central roast and that he was given a Hall of Fame speech?
Yeah, I think he tried to do it differently. Vinny's got a sense of humor to him. He tries to be different. He's more clever. Plus, he's a kicker. So, he didn't live really the same life that these other guys live, of getting hit and taking hits for, it's a slightly different experience for him.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, he didn't quite get it. It's supposed to be more, it's supposed to be a little more heartfelt. It's supposed to be a little bit more passionate. It's with a light sense of humor.
I think that is a good way to describe it. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, Roger Craig, some of the names going in this class. When you stack it up against others that obviously you've been involved in putting together, how do you sort of stack it up?
I don't really think that way. So, I mean, I appreciate the question, but I would just say that like Breeze and Fitzgerald were no-brainers. And when you have two guys who are no-brainers, you obviously got a great class, right? Kuechly, I think, a no-brainer last year, but didn't, because I thought he was the best linebacker of his time. But this is, this is, I guess, the Carolina tax playing in a market that's not as great. So that's pretty premier. And then you get the leading scorer of all time. I mean, that's pretty dominant class. But I don't know. I don't have the list of the other ones in front of me, I guess. Yeah. So it's hard to remember them all. But again, two no-brainers. The seniors are always guys who kind of heartfelt. Unfortunately, I'm not a big believer in the senior process. So I'm kind of on the fence about guys who get in that way, unless it's what I consider an egregious mistake. And I didn't consider Roger Craig an egregious mistake. I think we made the bigger mistake we made is like we didn't put Belichick or Kraft in. And, that's been talked about ad nauseum, and I hope will be fixed this coming year. But, if you add those two guys under this class, then you are talking about something that's like amazing.
Okay, but then if they didn't get in this year, and I remember we had this conversation about it being a numbers game and all of that. How does the numbers game change next year? What is the impetus for them to get in next year? If the numbers game was a problem this year, how does that pan out next year?
Look, there's an emotional reaction to this whole thing, right? And people got hammered. Okay, I mean, I voted for Kraft and Belichick, so I'm on record with that. And I think it was silly to not put Belichick in. Kraft, I understand, is a little harder with contributors, so there's a little more discussion about it. And it was his first time up. But like, they should have been no-brainer guys to me. Like, among contributors, I don't think there's anybody who's really worthy of getting in right now, other than Kraft. And among coaches, we've got 4 or 5 guys who deserve to get in. Shanahan, Holmgren, Coughlin, those guys deserve to get in. But if you're not putting Belichick in first, I mean, who are you kidding? So we gotta get Belichick out of the way. So I think there's going to be a realization that comes this year is like, look, you can take whatever stand you took last year on Belichick if you want, if that was what it is. But you're only hurting a bunch of other guys by not putting in a guy who's obvious. And I think the same thing is true of Kraft. It's like, these guys obviously belong. Put him in. Like, let's get over ourselves on this one. But, I'm just 1 out of 50. That's my feeling. But I think that's going to change, not necessarily the numbers.
Yeah, I don't understand how Dungy's in and Shanahan isn't.
Well, I mean, Dungy, how about Cower?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I just Cower. Cower's not even close to even Dungy as a coach to me. Cower's okay, but like, look, we could argue this out for a long time.
I know.
On a lot of individual candidates, and there are guys who are in the Hall of Fame who are not as good as some of the guys who are waiting to get into the Hall of Fame, or like Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt, who've been waiting forever and deserve to get in. And Marshall Yanda, a great offensive lineman, and Willie Anderson, great offensive lineman. Those guys are going to continue to wait because of the way the system works, and that's sorry, that's the way it is. I didn't build the system. This is the way it goes. But again, in Belichick's case and in Kraft's case, again, I think these are no-brainer guys.
I know comparing baseball's Hall of Fame and football's Hall of Fame is probably a bad idea, but to me, Frank Gore, who's going to be a finalist, a top returning finalist, is he a guy? He almost reminds me of a Craig Biggio in baseball? A guy that compiled. Do those sorts of guys ultimately get rewarded?
Yeah, I mean, Don Sutton. I grew up watching Don Sutton with the Dodgers. Is Don Sutton one of the most electric pitchers I ever saw in my career? No, in my life, no. But the man took the ball every fifth day for 20 something years, 22, 24 years, and performed at a very high level. Was it the truly most elite level of all time? No, but as they say, the most important ability is availability, and that's particularly true in football, right? Because guys get hurt. So Frank Gore eventually gets rewarded. Do I think it's going to be this year? No. There's too many first-time guys who are way ahead of him. I mean, we got the first-time guys coming up next year are Gronkowski, Adrian Peterson, Ben Roethlisberger, and Richard Sherman. Like, that's a class by itself, right? And that means that other guys who were on the ballot last year are going to get held up.
Always a great job from Jason Cole. Check out one of his many books. You can go and Google them. Always appreciate you, my friend. Hall of Fame selector Jason Cole. Thank you.
Anytime, dude.
Welcome back to the show. Let's talk some baseball. Sam Yarnell joins us for the first time this week. As Sports Wrap goes around the bases, after a busy weekend around the major leagues, hey, the Dodgers aren't going to lose every game for the rest of the season, Sam. They snapped their losing skid, finally. It is hard to believe a team as good as the Dodgers. I know it's 162 games. It is hard to believe that the Dodgers could have lost 8 games in a row. Like, it's almost unfathomable that a team that good with that much talent couldn't find a way to, even 3 games, 4 games, they lost 8 games in a row. And the reason I didn't spend much time on it is because it is baseball, and the season is so long, and it doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things because they're still obviously the overwhelming favorite to win everything. But it is amazing that they lost that many games in a row.
Yeah, but the other reason we didn't talk about it is because you and I already spent oodles of time talking about it before this season and before last season, because that's the thing when you talk about the Dodgers, when you talk about any team in baseball, specifically any good team in baseball, right? Everybody knows in baseball, every single major league team, you're going to win a 30-year games and you're going to lose a 30-year games. What matters what you do with that middle 30-year games. The thing with the Dodgers, we talk about before every season, there's always going to be a losing streak. It happens for literally every team in the major leagues at some point during the season goes on a losing streak. There has never in the history of baseball been one team that went win-loss, win-loss, win-loss through an entire season. That just doesn't happen over 162 games. So yes, it was bound to happen. I think the most amazing thing to me in all of this is they can lose 8 of 10 games and yada, yada, yada. The sky can, quite literally, the sky can be falling for that team. They're within 4 games of the 1 seed. Like, they're inevitably going to make up those games against the Brewers and the Braves. They'll still be the 1 seed in the National League. I have no doubt about it. This is just, it's so funny how for like a week, there were a few people in baseball who were like, well, maybe this is the year that we get the Dodgers. Maybe, let me tell you this. If it wasn't last year when literally everything that could have gone wrong for the Dodgers did, and now you're hearing about the safeguards that they've implemented to avoid exactly what happened last year, right? It's not going to happen again. I would doubt that it'll be as close as it was last year. But Jason, I don't think Los Angeles is going to be the 3 seed in the National League. I don't think that they'll even be sitting in this 3 seed for longer than the next couple of weeks.
I got to tell you, I still wonder if there is the possibility of a little bit of complacency, given the fact that they are favored by so many to win everything. I would not be shocked if they didn't wind up the 1 seed. Again, I don't think it matters if they're the 1 seed or not, as long as they're the division winner. I don't think it really matters. What's more fascinating to me to sit here and look at is we get into August 10th, 2026, is the lack of separation, particularly in the American League, that we still see from Texas at 59 and 59 as the third wild card, all the way down to Toronto at 56 and 63, who still has a puncher's chance here over the final, 6 weeks of the season to get into the playoffs. And the fact that nobody is really separating themselves in that wild card pack after the Yankees and Red Sox, who are obviously going to make the playoffs, that third wild card, I just wonder how long we go before somebody decides, all right, we're going to grab it and go be that third wild card team. Because I just don't know if that team exists, Sam. It's not Texas. It's not Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland, Baltimore, Seattle, Toronto. I don't see any of those teams in the bunch that I think can separate this. So we really could go into the final week or two of the season with 6 teams having a shot for the third wild card, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, I got news for you. So as much as we've talked about how bad the American League is all year, yeah, it'll be fun to watch who gets that seed, but yes, it's baseball. Anything could happen. Anyone will tell you that. Whatever happens in that wild card series, right? Because whoever gets the 5th seed is going to play whoever wins the AL West. That is going to be every single postseason. We look at the entire bracket and we see there are 2 teams that don't belong here. That is going to be the series between the 2 teams that don't belong there. And whoever moves on is subsequently going to get eliminated by either the 4-5 winner in the AL wildcard seed or one of the division. No, they would have to play one of the division winners. So yeah, they would either get eliminated by the White Sox or the Rays at that point. No question in my mind. Yeah, we can talk about it over the course of the next 6 weeks. But like, again, the American League is so bad at the bottom, and now the bottom has crept into the wild card, at the back end of the wild card, that it's so not going to matter. Again, I would be shocked beyond belief if whoever won the AL West or the last wild card team in the American League ended up in the ALCS. That would be shocking to me.
And in the National League right now, the wild card, the last 2 spots, Arizona and Philadelphia at 63 and 56. San Diego still just a game back at 62 and 57. Miami is still hanging around after, a dismal stretch. They have been very Jekyll and Hyde-ish. St. Louis is still there at 59 and 59. They're still playing meaningful baseball. And then you've got Washington, who's kind of on the fringes right now. They're 5 back on the loss side at 59 and 61, despite being a plus 24 run differential, by the way, which is one of the better numbers if you're talking about the wild card teams. Matter of fact, it's the second best number if you're talking about non-division leaders, if you're talking about Washington, Sam.
Yeah, if you're looking at the trends, though, this National League is going to get crazy. Like, this is the one that's going to get crazy over the course of these next 6 weeks. I don't know what happened to the Phillies. The Phillies seem to be the clear cut, like they were going to beat the Cubs for the best wild card seed. That's out the window. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I'm still not completely sold on the Cubs, although I know they've been playing great baseball for the last month.
How could you not be?
The Arizona Diamondbacks, because they're the streakiest team in their franchise's history. If you go year by year, this is the streakiest year of Cubs baseball they've ever played, and they're on a hot streak right now. When we always talk about all the time, this is when you don't want to be on a hot streak. Yeah, the Diamondbacks playing incredible baseball crept right back up into that picture. Don't look now, here come the Padres right in the Phillies rearview mirror. Jason, even the Reds, I know the Reds had a horrible weekend, even the Reds feel like they've got an outside chance over the next 6 weeks to make up 6 games, a game a week. I could seriously see that happening. Like, crazier things have happened. It's going to be a wild last month.
We're coming back. More to do on the WNBA next. All right, halfway home on this Monday edition of the show. Jerry Bonkowski will be here in 10 minutes. Ty Gibbs, your winner in Iowa, racing through the corn. Christopher Bell, my God, he is the Buffalo Bills of NASCAR this season. Whole lot of second place for Christopher Bell. Unbelievable, the season he's having, and he cannot win a race. For love of money, he cannot win a race. Sam Yarnell, another wild weekend of headlines for the WNBA, and not for the reasons that they would probably prefer. start with what happened late last week. This whole Enes Kanter-Royce White conversation that took place. And look, all of this between Sophie Cunningham and what she said that came out in late July. She said it in February, but didn't come out until late July. To Royce White, to Enes Kanter, to what Cheryl Reeve's been saying on her side, Natalie Nakase and what she has said, different coaches, different players, Gabby Williams jumping into the mix and saying, hey, I'd be cool with playing with a transgender female player. You take all of this and throw it into this goulash that is controversy for the WNBA. Then you've got Sophie Cunningham getting clotheslined, Bill Laimbeer style, by DiJonai Cunningham or DiJonai Carrington this weekend, which was wild unto itself. And we're talking about the WNBA again for all the wrong reasons. And then you've got Cathy Engelbert, who jumps in and says, hey, we're going to have a meeting about what a woman is, basically, coming up in the next few days. Team owners, league officials, they're all going to get into a room and decide what a woman is. What a mess. And I said this last week on the show, Sam, and I will reiterate it again to start this segment. They have to get this settled before the playoffs begin, or they risk overshadowing what could be the best WNBA postseason we have ever seen, with 4 or 5 really good teams that have a chance to win a championship. They stand the risk of completely overshadowing their own postseason because of this issue of transgender athletes and their place or no place in the WNBA.
All right, so I'll start with this Royce White, Enes Kanter freedom thing, because they call me what do they call me?
I don't know, what do they call you?
Oh, you told me this a long time ago. All I do is just sit here and just disprove things, or I just tell you why things don't matter. So Royce White, and honestly, I didn't even know about this leg of it until 3 minutes ago when you said it to begin this segment.
What have you been doing this weekend?
I was not familiar with who Royce White was, so I did a little Googling. Jason, you'll be happy to know I have scored the exact same amount of points in the National Basketball Association as our friend Royce White. Royce White spent, well, I don't even know if you could call it a cup of coffee in the NBA. He spent a drop of coffee. He played in 3 games in his career. He played in 3 games for the Sacramento Kings in 2013. Embarrassing to try and then make a comment on the world of professional basketball. You play in 3 games and your career ends, you go into a hole. Like there are people that happens to. You go into a hole. It didn't work out for you. You set out your entire life. You played Division I at Iowa State to do this one thing. You got all the way there, and then someone told you you never should have wasted your time doing this. You got into 3 games. We're proven a failure. Go into a hole. Never talk about basketball again. Leave that to us idiots. Okay. Enes Kanter freedom. Blanket statement about Enes Kanter freedom. Everything he says, I will never take seriously. Here's why. Anything that Enes Kanter freedom says into a microphone post 2011 is post his leaving Turkey, right? We all know Enes Kanter freedom. Turkey played basketball in Turkey at I can't quite pronounce it, to begin his career. So Enes Kanter freedom played there, said some very questionable things about the Turkish government.
Yes.
Then decided he was good enough at basketball to come be a 10th man on an NBA bench for his entire career. So he came and did that, and then used his ability to play basketball to then seek refuge in America, which he continued to do until he became a U.S. citizen about 5 years ago. And that's when things got really bad. That's when he really just became a mouthpiece for America. It became very clear that he was given his citizenship in exchange for being able to say whatever people want him to about America. I don't believe anything that he says, because quite honestly, the only reason he says any of it is because it's his only option besides being a political prisoner in Turkey. And I would take that option too. to. So do not believe anything Enes Kanter says. Do not believe his actions. He is only doing it because, again, his other option is to be a political prisoner. It is what he traded for his citizenship here. It's why his name is Enes Kanter Freedom now. It's all a big joke. Neither of these people should have any sort of a platform. Again, Royce White, into the basketball hole you go, brother. Enes Kanter Freedom, can't take anything you say seriously because you traded everything you say for a citizenship card.
Yeah, his best years were with the Thunder and the Celtics, I believe, if I'm not mistaken when it comes to Kanter. And look, ultimately, this is an issue that's going to have to be decided in some back room somewhere between the Players Association, owners, league officials. And I said this weekend. If there was ever a moment where Cathy Engelbert needs to show some leadership and get in front of this, because right now they're playing from behind, it's now. And I don't know if she has it in her. I don't know if she has the ability to pull this off, but she's got basically 10 games left in the regular season to get this issue solved before the playoffs begin. We're coming back with Jerry Bonkowski next. Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. You have to see what Ichiro did this weekend in Seattle. If you haven't seen this yet, it's mind-blowing. We'll get to that coming up and more. Let's talk NASCAR. Jerry Bonkowski is here. Ty Gibbs, your winner at the Iowa Corn 350. Boy, you got to feel for Christopher Bell, Jerry Bonkowski. I mean, my God, the guy just cannot catch a break and cannot get across the get across the finish line first. Second place again.
Again, yep.
It's remarkable. But before we get to Bell and another second place finish, we have to start asking the question, is Ty Gibbs a threat to win it all this year?
Well, this is his second win of the season, and, you know, I hate to be a Debbie Downer on this, but
but you're going to be.
What's that?
I said, but you're going to be.
But I'm going to be. That's right. I'm still not convinced of this kid's talent. I mean, I'm still not convinced that he's going to be, Iowa is a very easy track. And, I mean, I hate to say anybody could win there, but anybody can win there, as was proven Sunday with Ty Gibbs winning there. When he shows me more consistency, when his team shows me more consistency, when he shows me he can win on bigger tracks, when shows me he can win, pretty much any type of race that he enters, then I'll start believing him. I mean, I'm starting to slowly get towards him, in believing him, but 2 wins does not a career make, as far as I'm concerned. So congratulations to him. He won it fair and square. But, let's see if he can put it together, maybe 3 or 4 more wins, maybe not so much this year, but if he can do 3 or 4 more wins in the next, this season and next season, okay, then I might start believing in him.
Hanging out with longtime NASCAR writer Jerry Bonkowski as we get into the Iowa Corn 350 and Ty Gibbs, your winner there. Give me a thought on Christopher Bell, because at what point does this become almost, I mean, he tried going high, he tried going low, he tried everything. And to have this happen yet again this season for him, at what point does it become almost a mental thing where you start to feel like nothing you do is going to be good enough to get a first place finish?
Well, he reminds me a lot, and I don't mean this in terms of wins, but I mean more in terms of, the consistency. I mean, he's like Mark Martin. I mean, Mark Martin, never won a championship, but he was always there. He had 5 runner-up season finishes. Now, of course, we're talking about individual race finishes here, but Christopher Bell, I'm not totally convinced that he is not going to win the championship this year. I thought he was going to be one of my favorites at the beginning of the season. Excuse me. And I think that, we've got another 12, 13 races, whatever it is on the schedule. I think that he still can come back and win this whole thing. And, this may be the foretelling of what's going to happen. I mean, maybe he doesn't win the championship by winning races, but he wins the championship by being consistent. There's a lot to be said for that.
7th time this season, 4th time in the last 5 races for Christopher Bell to finish in second place. He climbs from 10th to 6th in the Cup Series standings, and that's where I want to go next. From this race perspective, who was the biggest loser in terms of the chase?
In terms of making it, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, Keselowski still has a shot. I think he may or may not make it. The problem with him is his consistency. He's been all over the board the last couple of years, unfortunately. So I don't know if he's going to make it.
Tyler Reddick. I mean, the Tyler Reddick wreck impacted so much in the as far as the series standings are concerned.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that. We're at a point now in the season where everybody's saying, let's get through these last couple of races. Let's get to the championship or into the playoffs rather, and we'll go from there. I think that most of the guys, unless you're on the bubble like a Keselowski, guys like that, you're not ready to throw the season away, but at the same time, you've got to give it all you can. Whereas guys that are up on top, like a Denny Hamlin, a Reddick, guys like that, they're already in. They know what they've got, so they're just basically, I hate to use the word biding time, but I think that's exactly what they're doing until they get to the playoffs, if you know what I'm saying. So really the next couple of races are going to be the pivotal races for the guys that are on the bubble, whereas the other guys who are already in it may just say, well, we'll take a mulligan on this one, and worry more about what's coming up in the playoffs.
Shane Van Gisbergen is 15th. When you look at the schedule the rest of the way, does he feel like one of the odd men out?
I think he could be one of the odd men in.
Really?
I mean, I'm not convinced that he is not going to make it. I mean, will he, wind up being knocked out after the first three races? Yeah, it's possible. But I mean, what he's shown me this year, especially on the road courses, but he's also shown me a lot in his further development, on bigger tracks and not so much road courses. Now, of course, the only thing that's in his deficit, if you will, he's 36, 37 years old. If he was doing this at 25, 26, 27, he'd have a great career. Time is kind of going away from him. So he's got to continue to improve and, get better, not only this season, but next season, because who knows how much longer he'll have. Yeah, he'll probably continue to win on the road courses, but, winning on road courses does not a full career make, as far as I'm concerned.
Kyle Larson looks like he's safe right now. Bubba Wallace, about 40 points inside that cut line. Ryan Preece is the first driver out. Real quick, does Preece get in?
I'd like to see him get in. I'd like to see him and his teammate Keselowski get in. But the question is, who gets knocked out? I'm not convinced Bubba's going to make it. 40 points can be changed very quickly too. So
yeah, but I mean, Bubba's also capable of stringing together some top 10s, top 15s here down the stretch. Jerry Bonkowski, great job as always, my friend. Thank you.
All right, my man. Thank you. Take it easy. We'll talk to you later.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. But before we say goodbye, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this fantastic show, available to you Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. 45 minutes, limited commercial interruptions. It is fantastic. It works as a great audio companion if you're at the gym, on the treadmill, in the shower, laying in bed, on an airplane, waiting for an airplane, or just while you're riding in the car on the way to work. Go and check it out, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Also, Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. It's getting bigger. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to go and subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. We've got full-length versions of the show Monday through Friday available on the YouTube channel. 45 minutes commercial-free, sitting there for you like a good friend every day. Extended conversations like the one we had with Jason Cole today on the show. You saw one segment of that on this show. There's actually a whole nother segment that we did specifically for the YouTube audience. See the entire conversation there, where we're talking about all sorts of different guys eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame that may not even get in. You're not going to want to miss this conversation, I promise. If you're an NFL fan, watch. It is fantastic. Available over on the YouTube channel. Sports Wrap shorts are there. News breaks where DiJonai Carrington decides to clothesline Sophie Cunningham on a fast break. We've got video on it. We're talking about it. Go and check it out over on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Sports Wrap Originals, all of it available there today. Go and check that out. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page website is hot. sportswrap.tv. It's the place to find the aforementioned podcast, the aforementioned YouTube content, as well as the Substack email, the Substack newsletter, rather. Just enter in your email address on the website and you're subscribed. It's easy. Sportswrap.tv is the place for everything having to do with the show, the podcast, the video, the Substack newsletter. You want to send us your comments, your thoughts, your love, your hate, your questions, anything. You can do it at sportswrap.tv. Right there. Sportswrap.tv is the place to do that. Go and do it today. And without any further delay on this Monday edition of the show, there's only one thing left to do. It's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, the best thing I saw this weekend in sports. You're watching it. 52-year-old Ichiro Suzuki, more commonly known as Ichiro to those in the Great Northwest, or those that follow the game of baseball. 52-year-old Ichiro in an Mariners alumni home run derby at T-Mobile Park. Look at all the people there. We all think of Old Timers Day. We think of the Yankees and what they do, and they had theirs this weekend. What Ichiro did this weekend at Mariners Old Timers Day at the age of 52 was tell all of us he probably could still play if he wanted to. And this is something I have stated on this show repeatedly anytime the name Ichiro comes into the conversation. He is 52, and I guarantee you he's still probably better than 25 to 30% of guys playing regularly in Major League Baseball. You want to challenge me? Look at the swings this guy was taking. At 52. Now you're going to say, oh, they're not throwing that hard. It's a home run derby. He's launching balls out of T-Mobile Park at 52 and making it look effortless. He still looks like he's in phenomenal shape. And if he wanted to continue playing, he could have been this generation's baseball version of LeBron. I'm convinced of it. He could have played until he was 50 if he wanted to. Like I said, he could still play now. And for all the phenoms and great players that we talk about in this generation of baseball, and there's always the conversation about Bonds, is he one of the greatest ever? Steroids or no steroids, PEDs or no PEDs, Roger Clemens and what he did, Ohtani and what he does on a night in, night out basis. You know, he can pitch, he can hit, all these different things. There's only one Ichiro. There's only one Ichiro. You can have all those other guys. This guy was one of the greatest players I've ever watched play. And the shame of it is, because he played in Seattle, so many of you didn't even get to see it. Because the games were late at night. You know, 110 of his games every year are played after 10 p.m. on the East Coast. So you never got to see them. But he was one of a kind. And anytime I could watch him hitting home runs at the age of 52, I'll sign up for it. Odds and ends. Farewell to Don Nelson, who passed away at the age of 86, the second winningest coach in the history of the NBA. 1,335 wins, had a .557 winning percentage, was one of the great guys to ever be associated with the game. He passed away at the age of 86, had reportedly suffered a stroke a few weeks ago, died surrounded by loved ones, family, at a hospice facility in Frisco, Texas. Best wishes going out to the family of Don Nelson. Hopefully we can all comfort you in some way, and may his memory be a blessing. Don Nelson passing away at the age of 86. And that is going to do it for us on this Monday edition of the show. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. Thanks to Jerry Bonkowski. Thank you to Jason Cole. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. Don't forget sportswrap.tv for all things having to do with the show. We'll see you back here on Tuesday for another edition of Sports Wrap. Bye-bye.